As promised in the first video of this series, in this episode I'll be focusing on the process we went through to completely remodel our kitchen, and as usual I'll also let you know at the end what the overall cost came to. Before putting pen to paper to start the design process, I knew this was going to be a unique opportunity to not only rethink the kitchen but our entire living space. Because the way we use our homes has changed in the last few years. The workplace and the home has become blurred. We now spend more time working and studying at home than we used to, so the way we plan our homes should probably also reflect that. So I saw an opportunity to consider this and reimagine the core living area of our home. We don't always need to retreat into a private space such as our bedroom if we don't necessarily need deep focus or need to get on calls. Sometimes we can just use the common family areas for casual work so that we can still connect and be more social at the same time. And in terms of the kitchen itself, my wife, as the head chef of the household, always felt isolated when she was busy cooking in an enclosed kitchen, especially when the family were all at home. So with this in mind, I began looking at the living space as a whole, considering how to blend the kitchen, the dining, the work area, and lounge into an open, flexible, and cohesive design. Another key consideration in all of this was how to get more natural light and ventilation into the kitchen space, as it was very dark and stuffy. So in the remodeling process, it made sense to open up the kitchen as much as possible and make it part of the larger living space. Before doing anything, I first needed to figure out which of the kitchen walls were structural, and then I could start putting pen to paper and work out an ideal plan. Fortunately, the two internal walls facing the living area were not structural, so this did give me some creative license. Firstly, I decided to entirely remove the main entrance wall and doors, plus a portion of the side wall. I maintained the corner as a pillar, creating more flow to the space, and this would also serve as an ideal support structure for a breakfast bar. Plus the pillar would provide a visual barrier between the front door and the dining area. Consideration for the actual kitchen layout included workflow, enough countertop workspace, adequate enclosed storage, cross ventilation when cooking, and to introduce a breakfast come work bar or study area as a casual touchdown space. When it comes to food prep and cooking workflow, one of the fundamental planning concepts is to triangulate the hob, sink and fridge for efficiency during cooking if you have enough space to do so. Next, I considered the sink and hob positioning. The sink would ideally be closer to the dining area, with the oven and hob furthest away to reduce cooking heat and smells. The fridge would then be placed into an opposite corner to complete that triangular workflow. To increase light and through ventilation, we changed the external side door of the kitchen into a full height window with sliding panels to the top half, so we can now keep this open all day without the fear of rodents or even snakes getting in. But most importantly, it now makes the kitchen so much brighter. So once I had all the fundamental layout principles figured out, it was a case of getting into the design details of the cabinets and breakfast bar so that our contractor could quote and eventually build. I consulted my wife on what types of storage would work, for example what mix she preferred in terms of enclosed shelf cabinets and how many drawers and of what size she would want. And at the same time, I discussed with our contractor what height to build the top storage, which would also determine the eventual ceiling height. Now that it would be a more open concept kitchen, it was also important to soften the transition between the two spaces, so I added a 45-degree open shelf unit to the end of the base cabinet to make it flow into the dining space. And doing the same to the opposite end of the run made for clear access to the storeroom at the back of the kitchen. In terms of finishes, we always love natural woods and neutral tones, so we chose a walnut print laminate for the base cabinets, but to help with keeping the kitchen bright, we chose a cream-coloured gloss finish laminate for the upper cabinets. We felt using walnut again for the top cabinets would have been too overpowering. The backsplash is back painted glass for the full length, which is very easy to wipe clean and maintain, but the end wall was finished in grey subway tiles for interest. We chose an accent green colour to tile the breakfast bar column, partly to make it a feature, but also to make it feel separate from the actual kitchen area. Another way we made the overall space feel larger was to use the same floor tiles throughout. Originally, two different floor types had been used for the living and the kitchen spaces, but to make the overall space feel larger, we used the same large format tiles throughout the ground level. But for the kitchen, I decided to make the false ceiling around 30 centimeters or 1 foot lower than the living area, which not only added visual interest, it also solved the dilemma we had of what to do with dead space above the wall cabinets, which could potentially be a dust and grease trap. So for all of you that are interested in what the overall cost of this came to, I broke out all the costs directly related to the kitchen from the overall house renovation and worked out that just the kitchen and breakfast bar area came to approximately 26,000 Singapore dollars. And by the way, you can check out my video on the overall renovation project through a link at the end of this video. But overall, we feel the kitchen remodel project was money extremely well spent, as it has really transformed the way we use the space. There are of course one or two downsides to going open plan, perhaps the most significant being noise, as kitchen sounds can be pretty distracting when watching TV. And in some cases, cooking smells could be an issue, but for us, as we're in the tropics and more often than not have doors and windows wide open, this isn't really a big issue. The positives for us far outweigh the negatives. I hope you found this interesting and useful, and if you have, do make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next time.